Hello. Hi. Welcome to the Irish Startup Conference 2022. Yeah. So folks, my name is Adam. I am founder of Startup Network Europe. I'm from Tallaght in Dublin. And basically, I have a question. Who here is a founder? Oh, okay. That's good. Who here is an investor? Okay, keep an eye on those people. Who here is from the media? Okay, good. Talk to me later. And who here is other? All right, good. Good mix. So guys, another question I have is who here is from Ireland? Okay, interesting. Who here is not from Ireland? Okay, again, who here is from Ireland? Who here is not from Ireland? Okay, it's 50-50. That's actually really interesting. So as many of you know, I know I'm repeating this, but I say this for a reason. So as many of you know, Hotmail, my first ever email, hotmail1992@hotmail.com. Lots of you know that already. The reason I mention it is because I did the India Cloud Conference a few months ago. And one of the speakers was the founder of Hotmail, Sabir Bhatia. Oh, that sounds nice. And yeah, basically he's an immigrant. He was in California, he was from India. So all these events I do across Europe, I always notice, 50% immigrants, 60, 70, 80% immigrants. So it's really, really interesting. I guess if you're an immigrant, you have to be a bit crazy to go all the way from India or whatever to Ireland. You take a big risk, so therefore you're more likely to take a risk and make a business as well. And a bit about Startup Network Europe, very quickly. We're an Irish company. We make communities. So lots of you, how many of you are in Startup Network Ireland, the WhatsApp group? Okay, so this is a group with 500 people. And I know it's WhatsApp, okay, it's not, what the hell, you know, it's not very professional, but actually what you check every 5 or 10 minutes, you check WhatsApp. And we have a group of 500 people, I would say 80% are founders. Best group I've ever been in. So we have this group right now, it's full, but apparently WhatsApp will double the number of members quite soon. So there's a lot of space to actually join. And a big part of what I do is I'm doing these groups across Europe. All of Europe, yes. And if you want to join that group or apply for it, just do startupnetwork.eu/Irish. We're going to say that link a few times today because that's a directory of links basically. We also do events. So I used to do a lot of online conferences like the UK Startup Conference, the France Startup Conference. And since recently, thank God, face-to-face events, I think they're so much better in my opinion. So we've done events in Amsterdam. And all these events you see here, 9 events in Munich, in Paris, in 6 different cities. I've done them in the past 17 days. So this is the last one, this is my 10th one, and tomorrow I'm going to sleep for the whole weekend. And yeah, it's been really good. I mean, people really want to meet face-to-face. I'm absolutely loving it. There's some photos actually of some of the recent events. And yeah, today we have this event, and these are some of my upcoming events for the rest of the year, not too many. And yeah, very briefly, speakers for today, we're going to have Brian, Chair of Scale Ireland, open the event. And then we're going to have Adam from HR Locker, Niamh from Altada, Jennifer from EquiTrace, Eric from Artomatix, which was sold for 60 million euros, I believe. He was a sole founder as well. Dermot, Delta Partners, Barry from Elkstone Partners, and Gary from Halo Business Angel Network, and Ralph from InsTech Group Ireland. And after the event is finished, Café en Seine. That's where the networking will happen, the pub. So it's going to be good fun, and we can network till midnight. So yeah, that's the event really. I'm going to go back, have this in the background, and Brian, I'll leave it to you. Thank you.
Well, good evening, everybody. I'm not going to keep you long. Adam has very wisely given me just 5 minutes, so I'm going to keep it fairly short. I'd like to start just by thanking Adam for putting on this event, and also thank the sponsors who have enabled him to do that. I'd like to spend the few minutes that I have mainly talking about Scale Ireland and why Scale Ireland exists and what it is. So before I ever got involved in venture capital, was an entrepreneur. I'm co-founder of 3 startups, 2 of which we were lucky enough to exit from successfully and 1 of which failed. The first of those businesses I started in 1992, and I can tell you that the startup ecosystem was in a very, very different place in 1992. There was no venture capital to all intents and purposes. It was certainly very, very difficult to access when you could. And beyond that, I felt that the policy environment was not favorable from the perspective of startup companies. I always felt, if you like, a little shortchanged in terms of the startup policy environment. Ireland had a great offering for FDI, for large American multinational companies who wanted to come and locate in Ireland, but didn't really have a well thought out offering for startup companies. And I wanted to change that. So I wrote articles in the newspapers, I kind of bitched about it online and so on. And frankly, nobody really paid any attention. And I gradually realized that, you know, I was just some guy writing articles in a newspaper. I was a voice crying in the wilderness, and that it was never really going to have any substantial impact. The real moment of realization was perhaps a meeting that I had with Martin Fraser. And Martin at the time was the Secretary General of the Department of the Taoiseach. And Martin said to me, he said, you know, Brian, you guys are just so badly represented. If we want to talk to the farmers, we know who to call. If we want to talk to you guys, there's no one to call. And fundamentally, Scale Ireland is about addressing that deficit. And I suppose the big realization was, you know, 1 or 2 founders in their spare time writing articles and that type of thing just wasn't going to cut it in terms of genuinely influencing startup policy. If we wanted to do that, we needed to have professional staff who got up every morning and thought, what am I going to do today to advance the cause of startup companies in Ireland? And also, by the way, why do startup companies matter in Ireland? Personally, I believe that startup companies matter tremendously. Firstly, we need to reduce our dependence on foreign direct investment. You know, the decisions about foreign direct investment companies don't get made in Dublin, they get made in Palo Alto or whatever, and we need to reduce that dependency. The other thing that I'm absolutely convinced of is that startup companies can play a phenomenal role in distributing prosperity throughout the regions and all over the country. And I tend to use the same examples again and again. One is a company called Nearform, where I've been an advisor. Nearform has maybe 300 people worldwide now. It's essentially a remote-first company, but they've got about 50 people in Dromore, of all places. And if you employ 50 people in good tech jobs, well-paid jobs in Dromore, that has a really, really significant impact. To give you another example, Fexco in Killorglin. I mean, Fexco has been around for a long, long time, but it's an absolutely tremendous entrepreneurial success story. Killorglin is the town in Ireland with the highest ratio of jobs to people, because Fexco has created so many jobs in Killorglin that the town, well, not since the pandemic, but the town used to flood each day with people coming into the town to work in Fexco. So that's a tremendous potential for regional impact and for spreading prosperity around the country. So what does Scale Ireland do? It supports, represents, and advocates on behalf of startup and scale-up technology companies in Ireland. The objective is to create the best environment that we possibly can for startups and scale-ups to survive, thrive, and grow in Ireland. We do that in a variety of different ways. We're endlessly writing submissions to government on various policy issues. This year in particular has been incredibly busy. I'd say we've put in 10 or 15 submissions on specific policy issues that are relevant to the startup community. We do research, we do an annual State of Startup survey. We have a number of working groups. We also participate in a number of European-wide initiatives. We have events and engagement, so we have events with key stakeholders. Most recently, we held an event with the Minister for Finance. It was about a week and a half prior to the budget. It was the only pre-budget event that the Minister for Finance did. And that's just an indication of, if not necessarily the influence that we've gained, at least the traction that we've gained politically at this stage. And then finally, just as Adam has said, community is also phenomenally important. We have a 980-member Slack community, which is exclusively for founders and CEOs. We provide support and introductions where we can. We run Ask Me Anythings on the Slack channel. And in addition to that, as part of the membership package, we have almost 30 discounts and offers for member organizations. Nobody will ever use all of the discounts, but, you know, for example, we have up to $200,000 of Google credits for startup companies. So collectively, that package of discounts and benefits is potentially worth up to $1 million to a startup. But what have we achieved? You know, where is this getting us? In the last couple of years, I believe we've actually achieved a lot. We were the main driving force behind the creation of a new €90 million fund of funds targeting early stage companies, which is known as the Innovation Equity Fund. We expect the specific funds under that scheme to come to the market probably early next year. I think that's going to be an incredibly timely intervention because let me tell you, the world of venture capital is going to get a hell of a lot tougher over the next year or so. So while it's taken time to get that off the ground, it's an incredibly timely intervention, and it has the support of Enterprise Ireland, of ISIF, and of the European Investment Fund. We've also worked successfully with Enterprise Ireland to reform the Competitive Start Fund. That was an offering that basically had probably outlived its usefulness. It offered 50K in equity for 10% of your company. So essentially it put a value on the company of €500,000. Nobody was very keen on that offering. That has been replaced with a convertible loan note of up to 100K, which is uncapped and just comes with a standard 20% discount. So a much, much more attractive offering from the perspective of any early stage startup company. Just in the budget, we got some significant changes to the R&D tax credit. They did not go as far as we would like. And this is in the nature of Irish politics, that it tends to be quite incremental. But going forward, people will be able to claim all of an R&D tax credit up to 25 grand in year one, rather than having it spread out over 3 years. And in any event, they'll be able to claim 50% of the credit in year one, rather than historically 30 or 40%. So that's another win. We continue to make representations in relation to the tax treatment of share options. In both of the last 2 budgets, we've made progress. Again, lots of work still to be done. And then finally, we've also achieved some significant changes to the EIIS fund structure, which is very, very important in driving angel capital availability. And what this enables people to do is essentially create funds to invest in multiple early stage startups, but with the benefits of the tax breaks of EIIS. So we believe that we've achieved a lot, but as I say, it's incremental and there's lots more to do. People often ask me, like, when will you be finished? And the answer is, we'll never be finished. We have to keep on improving the offering incrementally, and we also have to be conscious that in any competitive world, when you move, your competitors move, and we need to make sure that we remain competitive and attract the best possible entrepreneurs to build their businesses here in Ireland. So in conclusion, how can you all get involved? Well, number one, join Scale Ireland. Right? It's very important that we have a base of members that we can articulate to government are the people that we represent. We already have several hundred members, but it's very much a case of the more the merrier, and membership scales from essentially free to, you know, a couple of thousand a year for scaling companies. And get involved. We have a number of working groups. We have a council of the members. Anyone who's interested in joining that council, please feel free to get in touch with myself or with Martina Fitzgerald, our CEO. So I'll leave it at that. Thanks for the opportunity, Adam, and thank you all for being here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. And yeah, I love what Scale Ireland is doing, because you need these lobby organizations to say, hey, startups are here, please do this for them, do that for them, because they give back in so many ways. So now we have a really, really good panel. And as I mentioned earlier, we have 4 people on the panel. We have Adam from HR Locker, Niamh from Altada, Jennifer from EquiTrace, and also Eric from Artomatix. So if we can give them a big welcome, you can sit over here. Thanks. Adam, I think we can begin with you. I've written down my questions, so give me 1 second. Okay, actually, Jennifer, we'll begin with you. So my question was, okay, I visited your website basically, and you've got some really, really, you know, expert, qualified people, really good team. So when you want to hire somebody, how do you go about it? How do you think of the job that's needed in the first place? And then how do you find the person?
Thank you, Adam. Yes, I think everybody will tell you this, that hiring for a startup company is a challenge. I was interested to see there that you mentioned your workspace. I think having an attractive workspace is definitely a big plus. Thinking about the roles, again, that's a huge challenge in a startup, knowing who to hire and in what order. And you're always trying to match your capabilities and your team to the contracts you're bringing in, which can be very unpredictable. For us, we're lucky. A lot of the people, we work in the horse industry. We're very passionate about what we're doing. We're making a huge change in equine welfare, and that's a very attractive thing for the people that we're hiring. I think it's very important to have your culture right and to be flexible and to think about the kind of people you have and, you know, acknowledge the challenges. It's a very high risk, high reward getting involved with a startup, and pick people who are up for that.
Thank you. And then next up, again on my phone, I'm okay, my question then is, Adam, when it comes to HR Locker, can you let us know about your fundraising journey? And I'll take that microphone and try turn it on. Thank you.
Yeah, I think our fundraising journey has been a long one, that's how I can describe it. We're a fully bootstrapped company. I started HR Locker, and it's a cloud-based system that manages people, recruits people for tech, professional service, and knowledge work-based companies. Our funding round never happened. We scaled, and we made attempts to become part of the HPSU community in EI, and we failed, and we kept going, and we started as a HR consulting company. So we funded all the company all the way right through from 2008 to 2013 on contracts, working with high potential startup companies, all sorts of stuff. We weren't a recruiter. We were basically building cultures for them, telling them how they can work, how they can not spend a lot of money on recruitment, all that sort of stuff. We had a couple of very, very good companies that we worked with. And we were, at the same time, we decided to monetize what we were doing by building a product. So we were getting no funding from anybody, so we kept going, and we were making a bit of money, funding, making a bit of money, funding. And then it started to really work for us. So in 2020, when the product could stand up on its own 2 feet, we stopped consulting completely and went straight into product. So that was a huge change for us. I got annoyed at Enterprise Ireland at the time. By the way, I love Enterprise Ireland now. They're a fabulous organisation. But at the time, I got very annoyed at them, and I headed across to Manchester, and I joined a startup fund over there, sponsored by KPMG, Pinson Mason, Dell EMC, etc. I used to fly over from Shannon 2 days every week for 2 years, and it was cheaper to do that actually than go to Dublin, which was interesting. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to learn the fundraising round. What the hell was all this fundraising thing about? And it was a nightmare. I saw all these kids coming into this room. There were 60 of us at the time. I wasn't a kid, obviously. I was one of the older lemons. And I sat there and I saw people pitch and pitch and pitch and get investment. And I remember when we went there, I said, okay, I'm looking for, I think it was 600,000 for 20% of my business. And then by month 4 it was, I'm looking for 600,000 for 14% of our business. And then by month 10 it was like, actually, we don't need any money at the moment, so I'm grand, right? So we can continue to bootstrap. When the product could stand on its own 2 feet, and we were massive advocates of remote working. Thank God I did a talk by Disrupt HR in 2018 about how important it was and how important it was for the HR community and all that sort of stuff. And then, of course, I got nicknamed Adam Nostradamus Coleman when the whole thing went to COVID and everybody had to go and work from home, which was a great kick for us. So we then basically started to look at, we were approached by quite a lot of people because we were sort of being noticed, and they said to us, oh, you should raise money. And I said, okay, we probably do need to start scaling now, so we probably need to raise some money. So we were advised by 1 or 2 people, and we were advised by one, I won't say who, but they wanted us to go down the EIS route, which I thought was a good idea. And they asked us to prepare for a 2 million round, and I said, that's great. So we did a load of work over 3 months, and then they eventually came to us and said, well, actually, no, we're not going to give you 2 million, we're going to give you 1 million. And I said, against the same fees? I said, no chance. At the time, I don't know whether it was the Brexit loans were out or the COVID loans, I can't remember which one, but we managed to get 250,000 from them. And we went very boldly and we said, we're going to go from 12 employees to 50 employees in the next 40 or 24 months. And when I announced this to my COO, she said to me, what have you just done? I said, well, it's the only way we're going to get press. It's 2 years down the road. We still haven't taken on the funding yet. We're about to sign 2 million in a pre-series A round. And we're at 42 employees. And the software is used in 55 different countries now. But we're still at the very early stage. We're classic slow learners, you know. it took me 2.5 years to understand the acronyms that were going on within the VC investment world. Between EIIS, between post-money, pre-money, it's a big learning curve for anybody basically that has a business and wants to try and raise money. And so we've got to a point now where we got very selective of who we were going to take on, because we have a really good plan for what we want to spend the money on, and I think we're just about oversubscribed, which I'm happy about, but we're still not burning cash, which is good. So we have to change now from being bootstrapped. And I remember I had a conversation with my CEO up in the car, and she was talking about buying a piece of software about 60 or 70 grand. We were going, oh Jesus, I don't know. And she said, no, we have to start learning how to spend money now. And it's been a mad journey. I will say about Ireland, having spent 2 years in Manchester, Ireland is way ahead. Manchester had a big chip on its shoulder, and that was London. And I go so far as to say, like our business is based in the Hinch in County Clare, which is fairly rural, obviously. And but I would say the startup community in Ireland are way ahead of what's going on in a lot of places. The help that you get from people is phenomenal. All you have to do is reach out to any founder, and I reached out to Adam in the early stages, and I said, if I can help you guys in any way. There is a huge, brilliant community over here. But the one thing, if you're going to go for funding, make sure you know exactly how much you want, who you want it from, and plan it really, really well. Because we didn't do that, and it's taken us longer than we would have expected. Although, to be fair, we started it really in February, and we'll close it probably next week. But we're under no pressure. Make sure if you're doing it that you give yourself enough runway, because there's 1 or 2 times in our journey where I could see that some people who are interested in investing in our company and were waiting for us to almost start dropping in cash and stuff and put us under pressure, or at least that's how it felt, right? It may not have felt that way, but when it gets to a point when you do find those 1 or 2 people that can help you, and the startup community has been fantastic to us, and likewise we want to start giving back to it now. So we're only on the beginning of our journey still, but yeah, that's our journey from a funding perspective.
So Adam and Jennifer, thank you very much. Very good inputs on 2 very different subjects. I suppose next we have Eric. And Eric, I think before you sold Artomatix for 60 million euros, you had your own fundraising journey. I remember 7 million euros, 8 million euros, some figure like that. I mean, maybe tell us more about it and what you do differently.
Sure. So, my fundraising journey was very different, but also the same. And that fundraising is extremely difficult, as I'm sure a lot of people in this room are very familiar with. So just quick intro to the company through the elevator pitch. Artomatix solved the problem that art cost too much and it took too long in the entertainment space, so films and games. And we solved it through better technology. So we built an artificial intelligence system that could think creatively the way humans do. So think like smarter Photoshop. And this came out of university research. So before becoming a founder, I was a career academic, actually this university. So at the time, this was a decade ago, and fundraising is always a challenge. But at the time, the particular challenge I was having is we were a very particular kind of startup called SciTech. So really deep technology. That had a big upfront investment, so not dissimilar to hardware in a way where, before you can test the business case, you need to first spend a lot of money developing, something very expensive. And in general, like at least at the time, the Y Combinator model was very common amongst early stage investment. So 20K business idea, usually in the form of an app, take 3 months, test it. So we were really struggling to find funding because you go to incubators, you go to little anyone and say, hey, we need years of R&D budget before we can go out in the market and test if there's demand for this. And yeah, we were really struggling to find any money at all. But then I happened to get a very timely and wise fortune cookie. that told me that problems are opportunities in disguise. And the thing is, when you come from academia, we actually have our own ways of getting money, and that is go and beg the government for it. So I started Googling, okay, what are grants for sci-tech startups? And that directed me toward this program called Horizon 2020, which has since been replaced by Horizon. So in academia, like if you're a professor and you want to like do a big research project and run a lab, you write a 50 to 100 page report talking about all the great things your IP will do for Europe, the world, humanity, yada yada, and then beg them to give you somewhere between $500,000 and $2 million for the next few years. So and they just started offering this for small medium businesses as well. So that was actually our path to funding, because it was actually much quicker and easier to get free money from the EU than it was to get it through the classic VC model or even angels. But the thing is, once you can get actually like $1.5–2 million in guaranteed non-dilutive funding from the government, well, then it became really easy to find angels to do like match funding. So usually these programs are like 70-30, 70 from the government, 30 you have to bring in yourself. But then it's like a great deal for private investors. So yeah, ended up in the end I think getting like 3 grants that were north of $1.5 million, and then a bunch of like other smaller ones. So this would be my advice to anyone in the room who has maybe a non-conventional startup, specifically anything in the environmental space. The New Horizon program, I think $100 billion for the next 5 years, and it's mostly for the environment. Cancer as well, I think, is a big focus. I think curing, not giving. In any case, sorry, terrible joke. Yeah, in any case, that was our funding story. So we did raise money. We did raise $2 million kind of in our last year just before exiting. But yeah, most of our money actually was just free money from the government, non-dilutive, and it was wonderful. So yeah, Horizon, check it out.
Yeah, thank you. And that's true about Ireland and the European Union. There's so much free money from a local enterprise Ireland. And
So much free money.
Yes, yeah. So look around. And then we shift from one AI company, I guess, to another, Altada Technologies. Niamh, what is the biggest challenge that your startup has ever had?
Okay, so I guess we were very excited in the beginning of our journey when one of our main customers wanted to invest in us, which was, we were very flattered and delighted with that. But, I guess a year later and you do a larger round and then you see that they're starting to kind of rebrand themselves as a technology company, start spending more and more time with your team, and before you know it, you're embroiled in an IP claim based on their previous AI vendor. So I just think that if you're taking on strategic investment, it's really important to do your due diligence because you're so excited that you've got so far with your technology. We're a deep tech, deep learning, deep technology company with artificial intelligence and machine learning, and just this year in March we filed for fast track patent around machine learning and AI for reading documents, and it was granted with no objections. So it just gives you an idea as to why your strategic is so stuck to you as a customer and a shareholder. So I would say be very careful about taking money from a strategic investor if you haven't got due diligence done correctly, because just like a few layers of diligence when we felt that there was issues with them paying their bill as a customer meant that we literally just a few layers of digging with the legal team, and we found out that they're embroiled in misappropriation of trade secrets with their previous AI vendor, and we were, tagged along to that. So everybody knows you're not supposed to have a shareholder dispute in the middle of a funding round, but you're also, can't do a funding round when you've got a claim on your IP. So it's like a perfect storm. And then you throw in the war in Ukraine and the VC crunch market around and the whole reset around technology. So I would just say, just be very careful when you're taking in strategic money. Also, I think another challenge is is, especially with the times that we're in now with the VC landscape changing, and it's not high growth and hire in every jurisdiction and hire quickly and run fast. It's more like, are you going to be EBITDA positive by, I didn't even know what EBITDA positive was. You're talking about pre-money, post-money. I was like, what's EBITDA? What does it stand for? But it's getting profitable as soon as you can. And, running slower and, more meaningful customer relationships where you're really delivering value for your customer as well. But also, I hadn't heard of this before, because when you're taking money in, you're not sure, because you're not sure if it's an institutional investor. I'd never heard what an institutional investor was. So if you're considering taking money from like family offices or other funds that might not be a VC fund, and you might ask, what is an institutional investor? So I only learned this year as well, so it's a constant learning curve. An institutional investor is somebody who has a fund and invests from a fund. And therefore, when other institutional investors are investing, they know that that investor will co-invest with them as well to de-risk it for them in the funding round. So I think that's been very challenging for us, because we don't have an institutional investor on our cap table either. But the good news is that our strategic is coming off our cap table by Wednesday through a mediation process. And instead of raising 100 million, we'll be raising 10 million this year. Thank you.
Great.
And people in this audience, do you know what a unicorn is? Okay, do you know what a soonicorn is? So basically, a unicorn is a billion-dollar company, and a soonicorn is one that might potentially become a unicorn soon. So Niamh, your company has been mentioned in that sense. So, fingers crossed for Niamh.
Zebra's better.
Yeah, zebra. All right, cool. I don't know what that is. Yeah. Okay. Well, I suppose then. I know we're running a bit short on time. I mean, we have this venue the whole night, but we'll try finish this soon enough. I'm really interested in the topic of remote work. So I might be different or the same as most of you, because I like going in every day. I like going to WeWork, having my free coffee and my free beer. I like that. But for you guys, are you hiring remotely, or are you hiring people? Do they go into the office every day? I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Any of you?
Well, we've been remote since 2014. So, I remember the reason we were remote is because, we're based in Lahinch. We're not going to get the experience we want. As much as I love Lahinch, and as much as I think everybody should move there, it was too difficult to try and get everyone to move there. So around 2014-15, we sort of started to hire our first remote employees. And then we realized that it was, once you found the right employees who wanted to work remotely and who believed in the culture of your business and what you were trying to achieve, like our MTP is to make life and work easier for both employees and employers, and to allow the employee to manage their own career within that company and beyond. And our software facilitates that. So it's a very, very strong MTP, or massive transformational purpose. And it's one that very, very much excited a lot of remote workers. So we get a huge amount of applications through it. And in the early days as well, when Grow Remote started in Ireland, which is an amazing organization, a non-for-profit, who they have about 170 chapters in probably about 14 to 16 different countries now. I got involved in very, very early stages, really to learn it. And I remember Tracy Keogh, who was one of the co-founders there, and she kept telling me that we weren't a remote company, or that we weren't a remote first company, we were just a remote company, because we had 4 or 5 people coming into the office. But when COVID hit, interesting enough, we talked to all the employees, and nobody comes into the office now at all. So now I have 600 square foot of office space at the front of my house in Lahinch, which actually some of our partners come down and they work in our office, and then they go golfing or surfing, which has added another layer to what we're about as an organization. If we have strategic days, the guys will come. We had our first meetup of all of the employees 3 weeks ago, where most of them hadn't met each other before in the flesh, and it was very special. So I'm not one of these crazy people who thinks, oh, remote, I want to be in my cave all the time and that's it, and and Zoom and Teams are wonderful, but it's a certain class of employee, and there was a lot of them around before COVID, but there's an awful lot of them more around now, and they go from graduates to 50-year-olds to technical nomads to whatever. But the first thing that we assess when we're hiring somebody is, can they work remotely? And that's really important.
Anyone else?
Yeah, just on that hiring piece, I think everybody I interviewed wanted that flexibility, that they wanted the ability to work from home as well as in the office. I think we've all got very comfortable with that over the pandemic, and we find it very effective. Like that, I hired my developer during the pandemic. I hadn't met him until about a month ago. It works really well. We use Slack, we use all the usual communication. But we also have a beautiful office space. So I think if you can combine your days, it works very well.
Thanks for letting us know. Yeah, just put it closer.
Yeah, I was
So it's
basically just
better,
agreeing.
yeah.
I think that using strategic days to have the team together when you need them together, but I think if you hire good people that are capable of working from home, we find it seamless and really positive.
Thank you.
So, I found, right when the world stopped moving and we all started working from home, I ended up getting, way more productive. And then I got a PlayStation 5. But in seriousness, though, I think it's like different based on the individual, right? Like, because you go to the mall and you see that human torsos come in every kind of shape and size. There's different body types, different heights, widths, all of that. And the reality is, like, our minds are no different. You have introverts, you have extroverts, you have people who, make better decisions based on sensing the world around them, sensing, what their colleagues think. And then you have people who make, better decisions from taking the time to really, search their own intuition. So I think everyone has kind of their own different strengths and weaknesses and working styles. So I think it's about, as an organization, framing it so you can, framing however your organization works, so you get the best out of the people and you play to their strengths. And I think everybody can work remote, and I think everybody can work in the office. I think it's about, really structuring things in a way where people have that flexibility, and it's their choice, and, they're honest with themselves and you're honest with them about, what works and what doesn't work to make sure it's just optimal for everybody.
Niamh, we'll finish with you. Thanks.
I would just say if you're we're a data company, so sometimes you have to be able to access and manage that data within the jurisdiction. So when we would have been on the high growth path, we would have required, people locally for a number of reasons. And then if you're remote only, it's kind of hard to build that kind of, innovation kind of culture, especially on the machine learning and the AI side, because it's a very creative process of coming up with how you're going to manage each data set. So ideally, we would have offices globally, which is the plan.
Great. Okay, guys, thank you very much to the panel. And we go from scale-up founders to VCs. We have Dermot Berkery from Delta Partners, Brennan from Elkstone Partners, and finally Gary Leyden from the Halo Business Angel Network. Thank you. Right, so when we go to Café and Sen, these guys are going to be the most popular people, I think. You'll get a lot of free drink offers. So could you briefly perhaps say what organization you're from and what kind of startups you invest in before the audience talks to you?
I'll go first. I'm Dermot Berkery. I work with, Delta Partners Venture Capital. We're an Irish venture capital fund that invests in, I suppose, very early stage companies, typically investing up to 1 million into startups. We've done about 120 investments over the years.
Thank you. Brennan from Elkstone. We have a portfolio of 45 companies, almost 50 companies. We have two pools of capital to invest in startups, so seed and pre-series A, EIS eligible companies, so that's EIS is an Irish particular tax relief, investing approximately €1 million per deal, and then series A and above in Ireland and also outside of Ireland.
Hi, good evening. Gary Leyden from HBAN. So HBAN is an all-Ireland network community of angel investors. It's facilitated and funded by Enterprise Ireland, InvestNI and Intertrade Ireland. And last year, HBAN Angels would have invested in 71 deals. They would have put in 18 million into those companies over that year. In terms of domains, it's very broad, but over half goes into ICT, by 25% into life sciences, and then there's medtech as well.
Great. So, first question is for Dermot. On Delta Partners' website, you write that the best entrepreneurs are the ones who can figure out before anyone else that there's a train coming around the corner. No companies get to an exit without a near-death experience or two along the way. So my question is, what are the types of crises that startups go through, and could you give us an example of a startup that responded very well to a crisis?
That's the hard question.
Yes.
That was supposed to be for Barry, I think, you know. So.
Oh, God. Okay.
That's a joke. That was the joke.
We did check. I checked that.
All right. Okay.
Look, as you can tell, I have some grey hair, and they haven't come from the good investments that I've made. They came from the bad ones. So what tends not to be talked about is that virtually every company goes through a near-death experience. And I think Adam actually hinted at kind of my story here, which is nearly everybody has the point 3 or 4 or 5 years after they set up the company where there is no payroll to pay the October payroll, and there is what are we doing next? You know, are we going left or are we going right? I don't want to say dig deep, because that means that the right answer is to keep going, but sometimes you have to stop and sometimes you have to keep going. And so I just want to talk for a couple of seconds around, well, what is it that creates this valley of death, this near-death experience a couple of years out? And the first one is, look, everybody gets into a startup and thinks, great, we'll do this for 5 years. We're going to make a lot of money. It's going to be really exciting. We're going to build a great business. And in reality, the three of us up here are looking at each other saying, well, it's not 5 years, guys. It's 8 years. It's 10 years. It might even be 12 or 15 years before you can build out a business. And that slow realization comes to people probably around years 3, 4, or 5, when they thought they were going to be hitting 20 million in revenue, and they've done well to get to 1 million in revenue, and they can't pay their bills. Okay, so that's probably the first factor. The second is that, you know, they need to pivot, you know, to use that word from a couple of years ago, maybe they set out to sell dog food online, but now they've realized that the best business for them is in, I don't know, dog minding or something like that, and they nearly need to write off the first 3 years of what they've done, and then they start out with 3 great founders. You're probably, if you're setting up a business, you've got 1 or 2 colleagues. Well, not all of you are going to make the 10-year journey. And by the way, you might have to fire your best friend along the way. And so it's kind of a culmination of all these factors that kind of sap the energy of everybody involved. And ultimately, you know, I think probably for 80% of companies, they have that point 3, 4, 5 years out when they're about to run out of money. We've had plenty of those examples. And I don't have an answer for that, other than you either decide to keep going or you don't. We've had a couple of companies. We had a company in Cork called Sensal that literally we had to fund. We wrote a check to fund the payroll for a couple of more months. And it did turn around and got to a great exit of not far off 100 million. But on the other side of the balance sheet, we've got a bunch of other companies where, you know, it didn't work out. And by the way, the founders had enough after a couple of years. So my only piece of advice is, you know, these entrepreneurs that tell you they started out in whatever, you know, 2019, and by 2023, you know, they built a great business, you know, and they had no problems along the way. It simply doesn't exist.
Yeah, thank you.
So I have grey hair and a great beard. So I in terms of, but I guess you had a different question, which is, it's not the same question. I think that's maxed out.
Yeah.
I think, so I'm not sure what question you were going to ask, Adam.
Well, what question do you think I'm going to ask you?
The one that's written there, but I can't read it from here, so you're going to tell me now.
All right, well, the question I wrote down, I'm sure it's my fault. When startup founders go up to you, what should they have prepared?
Yeah, look, I was saying on a different panel, I was a very bad scout, so be Olive. I don't know if people remember that, kind of be prepared. And I think, Adam, you touched on your experience, and I saw you pitch a long time ago, and you were fantastic, and I'm delighted you're getting there as well. There's a lot of basic stuff that it's good to make contact with VCs, but and people say do it early, but you still need to be ready, right? You still need to be prepared around, understanding the mission of the business, understanding who the team is, understanding that you have something really special to build a great opportunity. We're looking for real outliers in terms of companies that can do great things, and Elkstone is committed to investing, as Dermot is, in Irish companies. We want big Irish success stories, and the preparation can be everything from the data room to, which is the space where you keep employment contracts, where you keep a cap table, you keep a financial model. And I think it's okay not to be fully ready, but if you're asked a question, just be quick. Be engaged, maintain momentum. Again, it's really hard to, if you press the button that you want to fundraise, you really have to be ready to run and to respond quickly to try and, our job is to actually invest, but unfortunately 95% of the time we say no. I say 5% of the time we invest. 50% of that we're definitely wrong. And then of the 50% that's left, we're hoping for a few outperformers, right? So so we're looking for great companies to do great things, but you really have to have the ambition, the drive, and then the resilience, because this isn't, it's not glamorous. I've seen guys sick. We've all seen, people I know who've come through and come out the other side. It's very stressful. And the sacking of the friend, that's tough. Sacking of a co-founder, that's even tougher. And it's almost inevitable that it will be up and down. So we're not trying to put people off, but we will tell if you're not serious. And you need to come in serious and prepared, because and we want to be by your side. You're not on your own, and during that journey, our mission is to try and be alongside you. But it's tough, but it's also the most exhilarating thing. Trying to go back like an Australian and finish on the up. It's possibly the most exhilarating thing ever, and that's why I want to do this, working with founders, because it's amazing to build those things.
And I have just a very quick question for the three of you. Let's say 100 startups approach you. How many do you invest in? 50, 60, or less?
50 of the 100.
Out of 100, yeah.
Gary is great stuff.
Yeah.
Go to Gary.
It's a fraction of that. So if you saw 100 companies, you're probably going to invest in maybe 1, 2, or 3 of those at most. So the volume of startups that are out there looking for investment is significant. The volume of startups that are ready for investment is not so. And then there's a whole bunch who shouldn't be seeking investment. They should be funding their business in different ways.
That's a really important question. So just because you don't get money from a VC doesn't make you a bad business. Most businesses don't get money from VCs. They get money from friends and family. The best form of capital is profit. They get money. If you go outside Trinity here and look, you'll see very few VC-backed companies necessarily. So you have to be a certain profile. Some, and maybe Gary will talk about the angel investors are looking for one profile. We're looking for one profile. Dermot's looking for even within the VCs, you'll get different VCs there. So researching, the type of business model that you have, but also, as I say, it's just when we say no, we're not saying it's a bad business. We're just saying we're not the right fit for your business.
Okay, and
Could I just add one thing that, it sounds...
We don't need questions.
We'll just keep talking. So, but it sounds silly out of 100 that we might do 1, 2, 3, and nobody will ever say over 5. But of the serious entrepreneurs that come to us, and that's actually the nub of the issue. If a serious entrepreneur comes forward looking for money, they are very likely to get it from... You're looking for different things than we are, and you're looking for different things than we are. There is an investor out there for all serious investors, for all serious entrepreneurs. I think you'd agree.
great. And then I suppose the final question, very specific to you, Gary. What's different about getting funds from an angel investor compared to venture capital?
Yes, he sent this one to me the other day, and I had to think about it a little bit because I think it's really important. In one way, there's no difference, is that they're looking for a return on their investment. They're professional investors, and that's why they do it. They want to put their capital to work to generate a return for them. So in some ways, there's no difference at all. There is one important difference, and that's around the economics of the two different types of investors. So as funds, they have a different economic model than an angel investor. So the types of opportunities a fund will look at can be quite different to an angel investor, who may not be looking for the multiple of a return that a fund would look at, or more the amount of the return. Because ideally, one or two of your investments is going to return the whole fund. That's what you're looking for. So every opportunity you look at has to have that ability. And that means you have to be going after a certain size of market opportunity. Whereas angel investors don't necessarily see that. They might be looking for a quicker return in terms of time, with a less return in terms of amount. So I think that's one important difference. I suppose the fact that they are individuals brings something different as well to it. So in HBAN, there's a philosophy of investing as syndicates. So they come together as a group. So the average deal is about 250,000 that goes into an investment. I think probably uniquely in Ireland, more so than other markets, is there's a lot of co-investment. So angel syndicates invest alongside Delta, alongside Elkstone. So a lot of the times, you're talking to each other. But the angel investors bring something different. Where they come from is they tend to be cashed-out entrepreneurs. They've done it themselves before, so they're bringing potentially a lot of domain expertise. They may actually come from the industry that you're operating within, and they're coming as a syndicate. So there's the wisdom of the crowd that comes with that. I also find that they get very vested and very excited in the founder at an early stage, and they really back founders. And combination of domain expertise and, I suppose, insight into that founder, they can tend to invest a little bit earlier than maybe some of the institutional funds do.
And I was going to add, I'm very active in HBAN as well. I would previously I'm with a different hat on, and it's a great place. There's an investor-ready program within DBIC. We have great infrastructure here between Enterprise Ireland. Like, I go to Northern Ireland, and compared to here, it's brutal in terms of the infrastructure that they have up there, and in the UK. So the investor-ready programs, the local enterprise offices where you can get 15 grand grants up into enterprise. There's a great amount of help, a lot of research, but and speak to people. And HBAN, they'll speak to anyone and give you advice around where to speak to. But and you can probably go to angels a little earlier, possibly, as a strategy just to get prepared. And that's something, even in, if you have a hit list of 20 investors, put the one you really want later in your list on Excel, so that you get a chance to practice. And you will get a chance to practice.
You're just getting us to do the heavy lifting for you.
Yeah, and then you hand it over and it's ready. Yeah, genuine. But we invest all the time across the three of us, and the other investors locally as well. And that's great because you get different things. Angels will help with introductions. And that said, always be careful who you get on your cap table. Make sure you're aligned around what the outcome is, what the angel wants. Are they there to help? Are they there for a job? How much money do they have? Have they follow-on capacity? So often your company will inevitably need more rounds. That's a question also it's relevant for asking the VCs as well, in terms of how long on the journey we can go. But in any event, the VCs can also help you get to the next stage, or help in terms of introductions, etc.
Yeah, look, I know we're here talking as investors, but I think the most important question for any of you who are at that very early stage of a startup is investment appropriate for your business model? I think that's really the starting point. Too many people go down a path of trying to raise investment for a company that doesn't make sense. And you waste a lot of time when you should be just focused on building your business and growing through revenue, or growing through other financial supports that are out there. And there's plenty out there. So I'd really start with that question first.
Great. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. We just have one more section, that's it, from Ralph, and I just want to say thank you very much to InupTech. So, Ralph, you're very welcome on stage. So, I'm going to do a quick... So nowadays, when I do webinars, I get 200-300 people. But back in the day, 1 year ago, October 2021, we did the German startup conference, and we got 1,500 people. Ralph was one of the speakers, and yeah, it was an amazing event. And we met in Munich. We had some beers in Munich. We got to know each other through a lot of Zoom meetings. And InOptech actually stands for innovation. Optics, yes, and tech. Technology. Yeah, so it's a very, actually a smart name. And if I just give a quick introduction, Ralph, you are a physics and electronics engineer. You're a serial entrepreneur, inventor, and investor. You've had a successful career working for leading companies and associates, including Cisco, O2 Mobile, and Fraunhofer. Am I saying that right? Yes. Okay, perfect. And you're also involved with many high-profile organizations, such as the Economic Advisory Council for the Bavarian Union, the Royal Society for the Arts, InsTech.ie, the Institute of Directors, and the Royal Dublin Society. And you are now founder, CEO, and CTO of this exciting new startup in the field of optics and AR called InOptech. And you actually won the Innovator of the Year award in Germany for your work with InOptech. And you're here to talk to us about the next step in the future of wearable technology and the profound impact it will have on our lives. And I'd also like to ask you, how much money in patent assets are you moving from the UK, I believe, because of Brexit to Ireland?
Well, this number is really hard to tell because you have different valuation methods. But we believe if you say 80 patents times 100,000 euros, or maybe 80 patents times 1 million, so it's something in between. I would say roughly 20 million.
Yeah, fantastic. So because of Brexit, it's a big opportunity actually for Ireland. Obviously, a lot of companies are moving here, which is fantastic. Yeah. Well, look, I think what we can do is we'll hear Ralph's presentation, and I just want to say thank you. This event would not be possible without InOptech, so a big hand for Ralph. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Andrew, for your kind, generous introduction. So this is a starting slide here. Akara, as my company InOptech is the main sponsor of this event, I would like to say Cad Millefacha to all in attendance. It's a great honor to speak here in the Edmund Burke Theatre at the prestigious Trinity College, Dublin. When doing my research for this speech, I read a good deal of Edmund Burke's writings and found a quote that particularly resonated with me and my purpose. It reads, "Society is indeed a contract. It is a partnership in all science, a partnership in all art, a partnership in every virtue, and in all perfection. As the ends of such partnership cannot be obtained in many generations, it becomes a partnership not only between those who are living, but between those who are living, those who are dead, and those who are to be born." Quote end. I think that Edmund, although a staunch conservative, was communicating our responsibility to leave our mark and to do something positive for humanity. But before I share my purpose with you, I must reveal a terrible personal secret today. Yes, dear audience, I must admit to you that despite my incredibly youthful appearance, believe it or not, I'm getting on in years. And so I'm here to talk to you today about the legacy I wish to leave so that I can fulfill my part in that contract and seek out those partnerships that Edmund Burke speaks of so eloquently. Right now, 3% of the world population have a debilitating problem that prevents them living a normal life. They are not able to participate in sports that they like, and in many cases are unable to operate vehicles, machinery, or look at a computer screen. For many, this problem affects their livelihood significantly and often their ability to make a living at all. What is the problem? It is called light-induced migraine, and it affects over 200 million people worldwide. 605% of all migraine patients suffer from migraine triggered by light. In our market research, we found that many migraine sufferers carry up to 4 pairs of glasses with different shade gradients so that they can function day to day, often having kept their eyes closed while they changed them due to pain. Light-induced migraine results in throbbing headaches, blind spots, and can leave a patient incapacitated for long periods. Tackling these problems is what inspired me to establish InOptech 7 years ago. InOptech stands for Innovation, Optics and Technology. We are a team of experienced managers, scientists, and engineers. Our vision is a future where light-induced migraine is a thing of the past. A future where everyone can see clearly and comfortably, no matter the lighting conditions. Our adaptive smart glasses use our unique patented liquid crystal technology to maintain a constant grade of illumination. They can be adjusted so that light exposure is maintained far below the migraine-inducing threshold for the user. All of this while ensuring that the user has clear, comfortable vision regardless of lighting in their environment. Unlike other products on the market that are designed to do the same thing, InOptech's smart glasses can adapt to any lighting situation within 1 millisecond. Other existing technologies are slow to adapt to lighting conditions, exposing the user to migraine-inducing light. We are light years beyond our nearest competition. This device has the potential to give millions of people their freedom and their independence back. And the application for our product do not stop there. Fast light adaptation is essential for motor and outdoor sports. Imagine, you are on a motorbike racing along a road at 100 km per hour. It's a bright sunny day. Suddenly, you enter a dark tunnel. Usually, your human iris needs 30 seconds to adapt, but with our smart glasses technology, you can see instantly in the dark. This is not just superpowers from Marvel movie. This technology will save lives. 10% of all road accidents are related to visibility issues caused by light. InOptech's adaptive smart glasses ensure that your eyes are always perfectly adapted to all lighting environments, dark or bright. Our adaptive smart glasses are also augmented reality possible in bright environments. They do this by enhancing contrast. If you have ever tried to read your phone in direct sunlight, you will have an idea of the issues with AR glasses. When faced with direct sunlight, AR glasses are even worse than your phone screen. Previous iterations, such as the famous Google Glass, were impossible to read in the sun. This created even more hazards as users struggled to see directions through the glare on the screen. It prevented smart glasses from having utility in many commercial situations. This contributed massively to their failure. InOptech has been approached by major AR glass manufacturers to enable their glasses for outdoor use. We have received the exciting promise and potential of wearable, functional virtual screen that can provide access to real-time information, reports, and directions to professionals in fields as diverse as sport, medical, transport, rescue, security, law enforcement, and aerospace. Imagine a surgeon having computer-aided guidance in their vision during a surgery, or a truck driver never having to take his eyes off the road to get directions. Imagine security personnel and police being able to receive real-time information on threats, allowing them to better protect the public. In demanding situations, rapid light adaptation technology will become an indispensable advantage. The application for our smart glasses are enticing, exciting, essential, and endless. InOptech, like many other businesses, is somewhat of a Brexit refugee. Due to company structure, I had to establish our HQ in Dublin. But I'm incredibly happy to be here, as I found a warm welcome, a beautiful landscape, and an industrious, thriving environment for business. Today is a fabulous opportunity to meet the community and here and speak to my quote from Edmund Burke to talk about partnerships. As we establish ourselves here in Ireland, we need your support, your knowledge, and energy to deliver a product that will change people's lives for the better. An opportunity to leave a positive legacy of your own. And there are more other reasons to get involved. Here are some quick fire numbers. Our share price has increased by 400% since its inception. Maybe we can show this slide. I think actually it's this one, yeah. 1.3 million euros have been invested into MVPs and up to 80 patents. Our market survey indicates an accepted consumer price of 600 euro, while our production cost is just 200 euro. We are uniquely positioned and have a monopoly in our market due to two main factors. One, our glasses are dynamic. They have the capability to adapt rapidly and broadly to any lighting conditions. And secondly, the ability to improve and manage contrast in a millisecond. No other smart glass product on the market has this powerful synergy. We estimate the migraine market alone to be in the region of 70 million patients. Currently, over 30 million patients are under treatment for seriously debilitating migraine condition. Capturing this just 10% of this market within 7 to 10 years would mean a 1.8 billion market. And you should consider working or investing with us. You will be in good company. We have over 40 C-level investors associated with companies like Vodafone Europe, the Flemings family and Partners Capital Management in the UK, Ernst & Young in Germany. I'm a believer in Europe, and I want to stress that this is very much a European project. I'm proud to say that we have support from all over the continent that is backed by the strongest possible investment. And now I would like to present the opportunity tomorrow and this, to have a chat further. Tomorrow and this Monday I will personally host a meet and greet at the Herbert Park Hotel at the following times with those interested in working with or investing in InOptech. Here we go. If you go to the website, then you can register for this event. So there are 4 different time slots in the morning and in the afternoon. This is an open event for senior executives, experienced freelancers, and investors. The format will be a discussion group of 10 to 15 people. It is also a great networking opportunity and win-win for everybody. Finally, to return to Edmund Burke, the legacy I wish to share with you and pass on to the next generation. InOptech is a culmination of my lifetime education and work. It is an opportunity to make a high impact investment in one of the most exciting technologies of our time, a technology that solves pressing, debilitating conditions for millions of people and has use cases in endless commercial applications. 10 years ago, we were wondering whether smartwatches were just a passing fad. Then technology and aesthetics caught up. Now, if you look to the person next to you, they are most probably wearing a Fitbit, Garmin, or Apple Watch. Time for functional, wearable smart glasses has now arrived. That is the opportunity you are seeing clearly today. Thank you very much.
And yeah, folks, so before we go to the pub, tomorrow, Saturday and Monday, if you want to meet me and Ralph, we'll both be here. We'd love to meet you. Talk 1-to-1, 1-to-2. There's big power and big events, but also meeting people in small groups is very good as well. So I'll be here, and also I should say, this thing is awesome. I've seen other visuals where, you know, you're looking at the phone and you see a glare. Well, this just cuts it out. You're watching through the glasses and you can see the phone screen really clearly. Or, yes, the idea is somebody's on a motorbike and they can die because the sun glare, and this just cuts it out. It's an amazing technology. So, look, let's go to Café en Seine, let's network, and thanks so much for coming.